morning, everybody, and welcome back to Dad Bear DIY. I appreciate you coming back to the channel and checking out our videos. Today, we're going to be going over some of the work that I've got going on in the garage right now in preparations for a project on our Cherokee. And in the last couple of months, I picked up a few things to be able to make better use of my air compressor. And I've started to install some of those things, but there's some extra work that has to be done, so I'm just going to kind of talk about what we need to do. So this is my air compressor. I've had this for decades. It's getting pretty old. Might have some maintenance that I'm going to have to do on it here before too long. But one of the biggest problems that I've had is that I've never really gone all in on trying to set up a good compressor setup. I've kind of lived with the stuff that I got with this compressor, which was a lot. At the time we got it kind of a bundle, had a whole bunch of different air tools on it. I picked up a few air tools since then that were, job specific for things that I wanted to do, but for the most part, I've pretty much worked with what came with this air compressor. Now, one of those things was a 25-foot hose. At least I believe it's 25 foot. Yeah, it's probably about 25-foot hose. But over the years, that hose, of course, is it's not as flexible as it used to be. It doesn't store very well, and sometimes it's almost more of an inconvenience using that hose, trying to get around a vehicle or whatever I'm using the compressor for. So I finally, last couple of months, I finally decided I was going to get a retractable hose reel, which is what you see mounted on the wall here. This is a Merlin 3/8 inch by 50-foot hose reel that I got from Harbor Freight. I mounted that to the wall over the area where we keep our air compressor for convenience. That was the last thing I did with this. As you can see, I don't have anything attached to the end of the hose, and the hose reel itself has not physically been attached to the air compressor. And I think one of the reasons why it took me so long to get this is because I knew that when I got this and it was going to be mounted to the wall, that I wanted to have a legitimate, if not budget friendly, complete setup for using it. So I picked up a water separator and pressure regulator. I think I got this from Lowe's. I don't believe I got this from Harbor Freight. I think I got this from Lowe's. But even then, I knew that I was going to probably need more than this. I didn't have a dry air filter, so I was going to have to figure out some way to do that. And as I started to get to a place where, okay, I'm looking at actually doing some painting, even though I'm using budget materials, I still want to try to do as good a job as I can. So I knew there was some other stuff I was going to have to get. After finally pulling the trigger on this, I was like, okay, I'm going to need to connect this to my air compressor, and then I realized I'm probably going to need to do a couple of extra things to make sure that between the air compressor and the inline tool, I wanted to make sure I had certain things. This was probably not what I wanted to have at the end of my airline just before my tool. While this will regulate the pressure here, there's still enough hose that there's going to be some differentiation between what I have on this gauge and what actually makes it to the tool, just because of the length of the hose. So I thought, okay, I'll need to pick up some extra hose, which I did, and I got this also from Harbor Freight, Central Pneumatic Rubber Air Hose. These are nice. These are anywhere between 5, well, this one's actually 8 to 15 feet. You can find them in 5 to 8 feet and then 3-foot lengths. This was going to connect to the, actually to the inline water separator and regulator and the air compressor. That's kind of long, and you can see I don't really have that far that I need to go. So I found a 3-foot, 3/8 inch air hose lead, also from Harbor Freight, and that's what we're gonna kind of pair these together. Now the idea that I've got is that from the hose reel to the air regulator and water separator is going to be a permanent mount. So that's not going to include quick disconnects that you would find most other. This, I've decided that what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to mount this, instead of to the wall, I'm actually going to mount it to this basket, which I've repurposed from an old, I guess, rollator is what you would call it. I drive, it's kind of like the rolling walkers that kind of have a chair that my father-in-law used to have. And I'm going to use it to keep stuff like scuff pads, sanding attachments and stuff for the pea grinder. Keep all that stuff up here and out of the way. I'll also use it for extra little air compressor parts that are going to go up here. And this is hard mounted to the wall. So what I was going to do is I was going to take this, I'm going to set it up above, and we're going to screw a plate on the back that's going to hold this in place. And then we're going to run the 3-foot cable from here to here. I'll remove this quick connect and we'll just directly thread it in. So that's the plan from there. And then we're going to use this 8 to 15 foot hose, and we're going to quick connect from here to the air compressor. I don't mind the quick connects from the air compressor to this first regulator because I may need to move this, or I may need to reposition it. I can get a little bit, I have a little bit of flexibility. So quick connect here, if I need to get a larger hose or a longer hose, I can do that. Otherwise, it'll sit right here. I'll have the hose here, and it'll be wrapped up and stored once it's connected, and we'll be good to go there. So for the hose here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use another quick connect, and I've picked up these connectors from Harbor Freight, so these are all like Central Pneumatic. We're going to put another quick connect here because all of my tools use the male end to connect to the air hose. So we're going to have that on this, on the end of the hose reel, and then for my spray gun, we are going to add a second regulator, inline regulator, that's going to attach directly to the gun, and that's going to be a permanent attachment. And then just in front of that, I'm using this Merlin inline desiccant dryer filter. This wasn't my first choice. I actually wanted the little blue one, the disposable one, but they were out of those. I'm cool with the desiccant air dryers. I've just noticed that while I find these at Harbor Freight with no issues. I've never found the desiccant itself to replace it once this goes bad. And this, the desiccant does indicate when it's bad. It turns from blue to pink. So whatever adaptation or adapters I have to use to get this connected to here is what I'll have to do. So that's going to be our setup. We're going to run here. We're going to plug into the wall. We're going to have this longer rubber air hose, 8 to 15 feet. I'll find out once I unwrap it exactly how long it is. That's going to go from quick connect to quick connect inlet. This is going to be mounted here to the basket. I'll remove this, and we're going to run the 3-foot line from the hose reel to the outlet side of this first pressure regulator. So this will regulate pressure and separate water, and then we'll have the second regulator on the tool side, which again, this will be on the spray gun for the first project, so that I can actually see that I have the desired PSI at the tool. Okay, because if I had, say, if I wanted 40 PSI and I set this to 40 PSI, by the time that air gets through this length of hose and to the gun, it may not be 40 PSI. So I want to make sure that I've got 40 PSI at the end of the hose. So that's what we'll do. So that's our plan, and that's what I'm going to be working on today, trying to set this up. I'm going to get as much of it on camera as I can. Otherwise, I'll cut, and once I get done, I'll show you guys the finished product. So thanks again for checking out the channel. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so that you can find out when we've got new videos coming up. And if you like the video, give it that thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you have any suggestions, or perhaps you see me do something that you think could be done better, let me know in the comments. Really love seeing the comments. So do that, and we'll get back to you in just a little bit and show you what we got done. Okay, so we're getting ready to install the 3-foot hose from the hose reel to the primary air regulator and water separator. To do that, I'm going to need to remove this quick disconnect that I initially installed on here. That's going to require a 19mm or a 3/4 inch wrench, and hopefully we don't tear this up. And luckily, it's only removing the quick disconnect, not the male-to-male connector. Okay, good. So we can use that. Okay, now that we've removed the quick disconnect, we're going to remove the adapter that allowed us to attach that to the air regulator water filter. This water separator, sorry. So there, that was the male-to-male that we put in. Got a little bit of the Teflon tape debris in there, so I'm going to pull that out real quick. Alright, so we got that cleared out. Now what we're going to do from here is we're going to take our 3-foot hose, and we're going to apply Teflon tape to one end of this, and we are going to install this directly into our air pressure regulator water separator. Okay, change of plans. I'm going to go ahead and attempt threading in the 3-foot hose to the reel first before attaching the air pressure regulators and water separator. To do that, we'll have to put more Teflon on here. I'm going to try the other reel, see if this one's a little bit more cooperative than that last one. This right here is part of the reason why I decided to try putting this into the reel first, is because if I had done it with the regulator on the other end, I would be spinning this around with that hanging off. I don't want to take a chance on damaging it. So, nice 2-3 wraps top, start working it down until we've got 2 wraps on the bottom. Back up a little bit, stretch it, smooth it. Nice clean wrap. This is 14 millimeter. Right there. And that's all we use to tighten this down. This is a 19 millimeter up here, a 3/4 inch. And so when we got to snug this down, that's what we'll be using to do that. So you want to make sure you don't get cross threaded. I'm going to tighten this down until the other side starts to move. A little bit of movement. There we go. Nice and snug. And now we can prep the other side for attaching to the regulator water separator. I'm going to keep messing that up, guys. Sorry. What I'm planning on is for this to come down. It's going to be attached like this. So I can actually I happen to actually use these hooks that are on this basket to bring this down, because I want this regulator to be right about here. And again, make sure that we're not cross threading. Take it real easy. If there's any kind of odd binding, it's going to feel different. It's different than, you know, any kind of resistance you might feel from the threading. You'll be able to tell pretty quick whether you've got a cross thread going or not. So. Tight. So this is going to be mounted right here. But we have a clean, you know, point-to-point connection here. We're not using any other connectors. So this should give us the straightest, most efficient airflow through this part. Go ahead and put our bracket back on. That'll go right there. And we'll just fabricate a small clamp assembly that'll clamp on here and this side, tighten down across these 2 vertical bars, and it can rest on this horizontal bar. And that'll be our setup for our pressure regulator. Okay. And that'll be connected to the tank via various hose lengths. We're going to stick with this one for right now. I may get a shorter one in the future. I have a couple different options, but if we needed to, we could actually stretch this out. I've got a couple coil tubes that we could use as temporary connections, but we're going to use this. So I'm going to go ahead and get this opened up, and we'll do the connectors for this. Okay guys, we got that hose finished. Before I began using the Teflon tape on here, I did check to see this is closer to the 8-foot rather than 8 to 15 foot that the remnant package label says. I also noted that I probably want to mention to you guys, when you're using multiple segments of hose, remember to keep in mind what the maximum air pressure is for each hose. This here has a don't use above 300 psi. This 8-foot extension is also up to 300 psi. The 3-foot section here, it's recommended not to, the working pressure is 200 psi, and if you're ever using one of these, psi. So keep that in mind when you're using different types of hoses. Again, these are rubber hoses. I'll have to see with that one there. I don't think that's a rubber hose. This is the one that came originally with it, and this one says it has a working pressure of 200 psi. So that's the original one that came with the air compressor. So just make sure you know the limitations. If you're using multiple hoses, you don't want to go over whatever the working pressure is of the weakest link. In this case, this would be the example. If we were using this in this chain somewhere, we wouldn't want to go over 100 psi. So just keep that in mind. So we got these done. Added a female and a male dapper on each line. I kind of kept this coiled up because it is going to be close here. You can go ahead and uncoil the power cord. Put that off to the side. And again, we're going to be hooking the quick connect to the pressure regulator on the inlet side. And then we're going to hook this into the air compressor itself. Again, we're going to be mounting this right here. So you can make whatever adjustments you need to make with your hose. So that's how that'll go. And you can use a zip tie to help hold these hoses in place. That's probably what I'll do just to keep them from moving around. But again, once we get this regulator, water separator mounted down and where it's going to be, this should not move. This should not move. And then we just got to put our quick connect onto the hose reel, and this hose reel will be ready to use, which will be great. Alright, so I'll do that off camera. I appreciate you guys checking out this video. No, it's nothing major or anything. Just kind of wanted to show you what my thought process was. You can see I actually changed it during the middle of the video. I decided to go with a different order of doing things. And I think that actually worked out better. Remember, your jobs can change as they go along. Nothing is set in stone. And as I say, the battle plan only survives the first shot fired, that sort of thing. Yeah. So, anyway, thanks for checking us out. I'm going to wrap this up, get this done. And in the future, real quick, in the future, we're going to be starting a big, and this is near future, when it actually gets posted, we'll see what happens. The project that we're going to be doing with the XJ, the Cherokee, is I'm going to be painting it. And I'm going to be doing a budget-friendly paint. Again, this is all part of the process of getting ready to do that. And you can look forward to seeing that here in the future. We've got about 2 weeks, I'm going to say, of weather window here where the temperatures are going to be getting up into the mid 70s pretty consistently, with low humidity and little to no chance of rain. Shortly after that, of course, it's going to be getting colder. We're in the first week of November now, so it's going to start getting colder and getting into a condition, conditions aren't good to paint. So I want to try to do this here in the next week or so. So look forward to seeing that. You guys take care. Take care of yourselves. Take care of others. All right. And be safe while you're doing it. All right. Thanks for visiting the channel. Bye-bye.